to the Clayton County Library System's Power of Financial Aid presentation. Today's program is brought to us by Adrienne Langford of the Georgia Student Finance Commission. During the presentation, please post any questions you have for Ms. Langford in the chat. And now I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Langford.
Good afternoon. Once again, I'm Adrienne with Georgia Student Finance Commission. Thank you for attending our Financial Aid 101 event this afternoon. We are looking forward to just sharing some information with you about financial aid because financial aid can be confusing for many. Today, we will be spending some time highlighting the process for a student to acquire funding for their post-secondary education. Throughout today's presentation, I will give some time for questions that have been posed in the chat room. So I will stop periodically just to address those questions. Now to start, I will define financial aid, explain each type of funding and the different sources that provide the funding. By the end of this presentation, you will understand how to apply for financial aid and just have more information about the different types of programs that are available. Now let's begin by discussing financial aid. Financial aid helps pay expenses associated with attending a post-secondary institution, which may be referred to as a college, university, technical college, or even a community college. During this presentation, we will refer to each as an institution. Now, these expenses can be direct or indirect expenses, all of which are associated with the student's cost of attendance. Now, direct costs are paid directly to the institution. Some of these costs include tuition and fees, on-campus housing, meal plan, and possibly even parking permits. Indirect costs are expenses paid while a student is enrolled, but the costs are not billed from the institution. So some examples are your books and supplies, rent for off-campus housing. It could be gas back and forth to campus, and even groceries. Now, the cost of attendance is an estimate of what it could cost at an institution per year. This doesn't necessarily mean that this is the exact amount a student will have to pay. It is simply a ballpark figure. Now, if a college graduate is asked how they pay for their education, most would say by using financial aid, which is a general term. So the real question is, which type? Finding ways to pay for college is one of the most important, but also one of the most challenging tasks connected to attending college. Financial aid is any money used to help pay for college. Financial aid can cover tuition and fees, room and board, books and supplies, transportation, and other college-related expenses. And these financial aid can come from various sources. So of course, your federal and state government or your federal and state financial aid. Colleges offer, a lot of colleges and universities offer institutional financial aid. You also have private foundations and private organizations, and even some employers offer financial aid for students. Now, here are your different types of aid. Of course, you have your merit-based financial aid. A good example of that is the HOPE Scholarship, and it's usually based on your high school or your GPA or test scores, SAT, ACT test scores. Your need-based is based on the financial situation of your household, and a good example of that is a Pell Grant. You have a non-need-based financial aid, and a good example of that is HOPE Grant. But you also have student and parent loans, employment opportunities such as federal work study, military aid and grants, and even a savings plan. So here in Georgia, we use the Path to College 529, but a lot of students also are able to take advantage of traditional savings plans that were put in place by their families. Now, it is always best to first use money that doesn't have to be repaid, such as a scholarship or a grant. A scholarship is a type of financial aid that is typically awarded based on a student's GPA and/or test scores, but don't let that limit your search. Many can be found based on a variety of criteria. And most grants, on the other hand, are need-based, which means they are usually awarded to students with high financial need. And we will talk more about need-based aid later. Now, there are thousands of scholarships out there to help all types of students pay for college. Look for local and national scholarships with GAfutures.org search tool to find additional sources for financial aid. Some scholarships have some pretty unique eligibility requirements, such as, are you a vegetarian, an aspiring writer? Are you an avid volunteer in your community? There may be a scholarship for you, and there are many, many of them out there. The last time I checked on GAfutures.org scholarship search tool, there was over 29,000 scholarships available. Now, it is important to know how the aid is funded. There are certain eligibility requirements in order to receive federal aid. And these requirements are for the students, not the parent. So just to touch on a couple, of course, you have to be a US citizen or eligible non-citizen. You must be enrolled in an eligible degree or certificate program. And you must be a high school graduate or a GED recipient, just to touch on a few. Now, the federal government has financial aid programs that include grants and work-study awards that do not need to be repaid, as well as various loans that require repayment. So a couple of examples of programs that do not need to be repaid is the Pell Grant. So the Pell Grant is a need-based program. It's for undergraduate students with financial need. And the SELG program, which is the Federal Supplemental Educational Opportunity Grant, is also for undergraduate students with exceptional financial need. The Teach Grant is a program for undergraduate, post-bachelor's, or graduate students who are interested in focusing on the education field. So that program is also available for students. And your federal work-study program, it provides students with an opportunity to work full-time or part-time. To work part-time, but you must be a full-time or part-time undergraduate or graduate student. You would earn at least a minimum wage and you would work on campus. The great thing about the work-study program is that you are a student first and an employee second. So you can expect your employer to give you time for classes and study time. So that's very important when you're a student also trying to work. Now, the FAFSA also determines the amount of loans, subsidized and unsubsidized, that you are eligible for. These loans, of course, will have to be repaid once you are no longer in school. And repayment begins 6 months after graduation, or if the student is no longer enrolled at least half-time. Federal Plus loans are unsubsidized loans made to parents of undergraduate students. And if your parents cannot obtain a Plus loan, the student may be eligible to borrow additional unsubsidized Stafford loans. With the Graduate Plus loan, graduate and professional students are also eligible to borrow under the Plus loan program to help pay for their education. Now, here's just a slide to give you just some more information about the direct subsidized loan. Again, it's available to undergraduate students with financial need. The interest is paid by the government while that student is enrolled at least half-time. And the unsubsidized loan is available to undergraduate and graduate students. The institution determines the amount based on the cost of attendance, and students are responsible for paying the interest while they are in school and after graduation. The Parent Plus loan is for a parent for a student, an undergraduate student, and only one parent will be the borrower. And a lot of the cost for a Parent Plus loan is decided by how much financial aid is available to the student before a Plus loan is taken out. Now, depending on the type of loan you and/or your parents qualify for, there are some limits to the amount of funds you can receive. First-year undergraduate students are eligible for up to $5,500 in student loans, and amounts increase for subsequent years of study with higher amounts for graduate students. And the interest rate may vary on when the loan is borrowed. So here I'd like to pause and look for questions to see if there's any questions about federal financial aid before we move on to state financial aid. Okay. Well, let's move on to Georgia's financial aid program. Now, think of the HOPE program as a family and the Georgia Lottery as the parent. The HOPE program provides money to assist students with their educational costs. Now, these are the general eligibility requirements for the HOPE program, and I'd like to point out a few. Of course, you have to be a legal resident of Georgia. You must meet US citizenship or eligible non-citizenship requirements. You must be working toward the first undergraduate program. And you must also attend an eligible post-secondary institution. Now, to be awarded HOPE, a student must attend one of the eligible institutions within the state of Georgia. This includes public, private, and technical colleges and universities. Students can only be awarded HOPE at one institution at a time. And so for this complete list of eligible institutions, always feel free to visit our website, GAfutures.org, to select the tab for HOPE and state aid programs. Next, let's talk about the eligibility requirements for the HOPE scholarship. First, the HOPE scholarship is awarded to students pursuing an associate's or bachelor's degree. Again, that's very important. Students that are pursuing an associate's or bachelor's degree. Students must graduate with a 3.0 high school HOPE GPA from a Georgia high school and have completed 4 academically rigorous course credits. Now, for homeschool students, the requirements differ. So for more information, please contact us directly for homeschool students. Now, rigor credits can be earned by taking AP, IB, or dual enrollment core courses. Rigor credits can be earned from advanced courses, for example, anatomy and physiology, chemistry, biology 2, algebra 2, and a second or third year of a foreign language are all considered rigor courses. The high school HOPE GPA found on GAfutures may differ from the GPA from your high school. The high school HOPE GPA is only calculated by GSFC, Georgia Student Finance Commission, and is based on core courses while the student is in high school. High school HOPE GPAs are calculated every academic year when transcripts are uploaded to GSFC by high schools. And I just wanted to show you an example of what that looks like. So if you do not already have a GAfutures.org account, I highly recommend creating one as soon as possible. This is how you track your high school HOPE GPA as well as your college HOPE GPA. And once you log into your account, this is just a screenshot of what you would see. You would notice that as we have circled here, your HOPE GPA, HOPE calculated GPA is available, and also how many rigor core credits you have completed. To maintain the HOPE scholarship while in college, a student must maintain at least a 3.0 college HOPE GPA at all checkpoints, including every spring term of enrollment. So just definitely wanted to provide that information. Once you're in college, you want to make sure that you are maintaining the 3.0 college HOPE GPA at each checkpoint. Now, students are able to track their college HOPE GPA on GAfutures by logging in, clicking on My GAfutures, and then on their college profile. The college HOPE GPA may differ from the GPA from your institution. The college HOPE GPA is only calculated by GSFC. Now, let's talk about the Zell Miller Scholarship. To receive the Zell Miller Scholarship, a student must meet the general eligibility requirements of the HOPE program, as well as the following. If the student is designated as the valedictorian or salutatorian, they are eligible to receive the Zell Miller Scholarship. All other students must graduate with a 3.7 high school HOPE GPA, 4 rigor core credits, and a 1200 on the SAT or a 26 on the ACT. Students can take the test multiple times and use the highest score. However, the test scores must be earned in one sitting and taken prior to graduation. Now, maintaining the Zell Miller Scholarship is similar to the HOPE. The checkpoints are the same, but a student must have at least a 3.3 college HOPE GPA. So just want to pause on this slide for a second so that you can just kind of really soak in the different checkpoints there. Now, there are a few ways students can lose their eligibility for the HOPE Scholarship and Zell Miller Scholarship. One is by not maintaining your GPA, reaching the maximum hours allowed. There is a maximum for the HOPE Scholarship and the Zell Miller Scholarship. The maximum number of hours, attempted credit hours, is 127 for semester-based programs and 190 for quarter-based programs. Another way to lose the HOPE Scholarship or Zell Miller Scholarship is by failing to use your award within 7 years or 10 years of high school graduation. And once you have received a bachelor's degree or your first professional degree, you are no longer eligible for a HOPE Scholarship or Zell Miller Scholarship. Now, I will pause there for questions. So I see a couple of questions. One question is, are the rigor core credits a new implementation? They are not. They have been in place for a number of years. That 4 rigor core credits requirement has been in place for quite a few years now. Also, is it possible to receive the HOPE Scholarship again if it is lost at a certain checkpoint? That's a great question. So if you have lost the HOPE scholarship, you are able to pick it back up at the 60 credit hour checkpoint or the 90 credit hour checkpoint. You cannot pick it up during the spring checkpoints. So you have the 30, 60, 90, and actually I can go back to that slide and show you exactly. So you have the 30 attempted semester credit hours, 45 quarter credit hours if you're going to a college that uses quarters. So you can receive the HOPE scholarship again at that second checkpoint, 60, 90, or the third checkpoint, 90, 135. Now, even though you do have a checkpoint in the spring, you actually cannot regain HOPE scholarship during that time unless it's also a 60, 90, or 90, 135 credit checkpoint. Great question. All right, so let's move on to the grants. Like all components of the HOPE program, the general eligibility requirement will also apply to the grants. Yet what's different is that the grants can only be used for students who are enrolled in a certificate or diploma program. Also, there is no high school HOPE GPA requirement and test scores are not considered. To maintain the HOPE grant, a student must have a 2.0 college cumulative GPA at the checkpoints. To keep the Zell Miller grant, a student must maintain at least a 3.5 college cumulative GPA every checkpoint. Not eligible for the Zell Miller grant until a student is not eligible for the Zell Miller grant until one semester is completed, because the student would have to have at least a 3.5 college cumulative GPA. Now, the HOPE Career Grant has become a great financial resource for many students. Students receiving the HOPE Grant or the Zell Miller Grant may also be eligible for additional financial assistance from this program. The program was created to boost enrollment in high demand certificate and diploma programs, such as commercial trucking, early childhood care and education, and practical nursing. And there are 17 in-demand career fields with more than 300 approved certificate and diploma programs eligible for the HOPE Career Grant. So you can find a list of approved programs and award amounts at GAfutures.org. Now, those students who have earned their GED from an institution within TCSG, Technical College System of Georgia, may be eligible for the HOPE GED grant. And for a list of eligible institutions, please visit tcsg.edu. At public institutions, the HOPE scholarship and grant cover a portion of the tuition, and tuition rates can vary at each institution. The Zell Miller scholarship and grant provides full tuition at our public institutions. Now, neither award can be used for books, housing, meal plan, or fees. They only pay tuition. And students can receive the HOPE or Zell Miller scholarship at private institutions where it is a set amount per term of enrollment. So please check out our website, GAfutures.org. There is a calculator on that website where you can find out exactly how much HOPE and Zell Miller will pay at your institution. The HOPE Career Grant is a set amount which is based on two factors: the number of credit hours within the term of enrollment and the program of study. And just a side note, a student could have full standard tuition paid with the combination of the HOPE grant and the HOPE career grant. And again, keep in mind that the HOPE grant is for students that are pursuing certificate or diploma programs. The HOPE GED grant is a one-time $500 voucher, and it can be used for educational costs. The voucher must be used within 24 months after it is issued. Now, other programs that Georgia Student Finance Commission does administer, they are available on our website. A good example of that is the Georgia National Guard Service Cancelable Loan, the Tuition Equalization Grant, and also the HERO Scholarship. So all of these programs are administered by the Georgia Student Finance Commission. More information and eligibility requirements for all of these programs can be found on GAfutures.org. Once you are on our website, applying for state programs is very easy. You can go to GAfutures homepage and select the HOPE and State Aid Programs tab, then select State Aid Applications link. From there, this is just a screenshot of what that would look like. From there, you would just click on the application for the program that you are interested in applying for. And students can use the GSF apps to apply for state aid. GSF app is the application. It stands for Georgia Student Finance Application. And you can apply for the HOPE Scholarship and the HOPE programs, period, with our GSF app application or GSF app. Now, with each type of aid, there is an application process. So we talked about the GSF app as a way to apply for the HOPE program. You can also apply for the HOPE program by completing a FAFSA. And I'm going to pause here before we talk about the FAFSA. I'm going to pause here for questions. Okay, perfect. We will move forward. So like I said, with each type of aid, there's an application process. It would be amazing if there was one application for all of financial aid, but like most things, it can't be that easy. So let's work through the process. The first step in your search for financial aid, both federal and state, is to complete the free application for federal student aid, known as the FAFSA. Submitting a FAFSA is free and starts with creating your FSA ID. If you are considered a dependent student, your parent may also need an FSA ID. And if you need help, please check with your school counselor. If you're in high school or in college, please check with your school counselor about any financial aid nights. Also, you can contact us at Georgia Student Finance Commission. We offer FAFSA completion events throughout the state, and we can also help you on the phone if you need our assistance. Now, FAFSA.gov and the My Student Aid app are the only ways to submit the FAFSA. Students must use their FSA ID to log in. Now here, just wanted to share some time frames with you. So if you are planning to attend college, say the fall of this year, or the spring of 2022, or the summer of 2022, that FAFSA is available right now. The FAFSA became available October 1st of last year. You would complete a FAFSA 2021-2022. If you are planning to attend college starting in the fall of 2022, the new FAFSA will be available on October 1st of this year, and you will be completing the FAFSA for 2022-2023. Now, to complete the FAFSA, you will need a few items. One, you and or your parents' tax return for the required year. So just going back to that last slide, if you are completing a FAFSA, the 2021-2022, you will need the 2019 tax returns. If you're completing the 2022-2023 FAFSA, you will need the 2020 tax returns. So your tax returns are required. Information on any untaxed income, such as child support, and other basic household information. All of these items will be needed to complete the FAFSA. Now, here are some steps to creating your FSA ID. You can use your FSA ID to sign your FAFSA right away. And here are your steps. Once you go to FAFSA.gov and click on the link to create an FSA ID, it's just like signing up for most apps online. You're going to create a username and a password and enter your email address. They're going to ask you some demographic information. You'll confirm either via your email address or your cell phone number. And that will be it. That will be your FSA ID. Now, just some tips about your FSA ID. Never tell anyone else your FSA ID, not a parent, not a child, a school official, or a loan company. Remember, your FSA ID is your signature, so protect it. And you'll use your FSA ID every year you fill out a FAFSA and for the lifetime of any student loans. So be sure to take a little time while making it to create a memorable username and password and answers to your challenge questions. Keep your FSA ID in a safe place or memorize it. So here, just want to talk about the best order to accept aid, just as a review of what we talked about today. First of all, the first thing that you want to accept for financial aid is definitely scholarships and grants. This is the free money that you do not have to pay back. Secondly, if you are eligible for federal work study, you definitely want to take advantage of it. You do not have to pay it back. It is money paid through a paycheck. And the great thing, as we mentioned earlier, your employer will consider your class schedule and study times. Next, if you still have a balance for your education, you may want to look into student loans. They must be paid back, and they are paid back with interest. Next in line would be state government or college loans. Some institutions do offer loans to their students if they still have a balance after all federal and state aid has been used. So you definitely want to consider all of the conditions that those loans offer. And last, there are private loans available from different organizations. They must be paid back with interest. Usually the interest is higher, and so it's a less favorable loan because their terms of repayment are usually different than the federal loans. Now here, I just wanted to point out a few additional resources. So of course, we would definitely recommend you visiting GAfutures.org or GSFC.org. FAFSA.gov actually has a lot of great information on their website. And studentaid.gov and its affiliated sites have a wealth of information about federal financial aid. Now, GAfutures is Georgia's primary resource to help students plan, apply, and find affordable ways to pay for their secondary education. So we definitely highly recommend everyone visit our website, create an account, just so that you have options and you have all of this information available to you and have access to everything that our website has to offer. Now, your next steps would be creating an account on GAfutures.org. Once you have your account, you want to check your HOPE GPA to see if you are eligible or on track for HOPE or Zell Miller. And please keep in mind that the FAFSA is available in October 1st, on October 1st of every year, the next FAFSA, the next year's FAFSA. And I also wanted to show you our territory map. So each student, parent, and institution has an outreach representative. So feel free to reach out to us and let us help you plan, apply, and pay for college. I'm gonna just pause there for a second and see if there's any questions and give you a chance to write down any of our information. So let's see, it says, is there assistance available for those who may have difficulty getting the necessary information to complete the FAFSA? It depends on the program that you're interested in. There is assistance. So first, let me say yes, there is assistance. In order to apply for federal financial aid, you will need the FAFSA completed. There's no way around that. For state aid, if you are HOPE eligible or Zell Miller eligible or interested in any of the state programs, you can actually complete the GSF app that is available on GAfutures.org. I would highly recommend looking at our scholarship search tool for any scholarships that are available. As I mentioned, the last time I checked, there were 29,000 scholarships on there from around the country. So I would definitely recommend checking out that scholarship search tool. And again, you want to check with your institution, whatever college or university you're attending, you want to check with them to see if they have any type of financial aid available to their students. And the next question was, what was the deadline for applying for FAFSA again? In terms of a deadline, you want to check with your university, your institution that you're attending. Different institutions have different deadlines. There's also an early application type deadline. So as I mentioned, the FAFSA comes out on October 1st of every year for the next year. So you do want to contact your institution to find out when their early application deadline will be, and also if they have any other deadlines. Okay, any other questions? Okay. So you can also contact Georgia Student Finance Commission through our email address that's listed here or our phone number. Please feel free to reach out and contact our Client Services Department with any questions you may have. And you can follow us on GAfutures Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube and Instagram. We are very active on Instagram for all of the latest and greatest information about financial aid, tips, resources, reminders, and more. So that is the end of my presentation. I want to see if there's any other questions.
I think that's all the questions that I see in the chat. So thank you very much, Ms. Langford, for your time. That was really wonderful information. And I just want to encourage everyone again to visit GAfutures.org and to reach out to any other representative for additional information. So thank you very much and have a great day.